It's a wonderful, beautiful, fantabulous little planet. Talking to the experts that help to make it so. You're going to enjoy this interview, everybody. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody, to the Your Little Castle Show. We have, I think it's one of the most learned shows I've ever been fortunate to do the interview for, because you don't realize how intricate, how detailed, what goes on, the mechanics behind our little planet and all of the green organisms, plants, trees,
yeah, it's amazing,
shrubbery that you see everywhere around our planet. Except for a few metro areas where they've got a lot more cement, it seems, than they do
yeah.
Plants and trees, but they still plant them in the middle of whatever. They're vital. They're so critical. And our guest here today, Stan, is helping us understand how important they really are. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So let's dive in here. If you missed the first interview, everybody, literally, I would make the argument, my dad would make this joke with me, Carter, you might be careful, you might double your knowledge. Right? And I guess he was saying that facetiously with those people that come at us and they know everything, right? Well, here's somebody, he's not telling us he knows everything. I haven't made that evaluation. He may not know everything, but he knows a lot. And there's so much you need to understand. You're one of the most informed. You talked about some of the groups you were working with, and like there's information that you were privy to that is very hard to find on our planet.
You mean with the, well, I was, when I first was taught about trees and tree health and tree treatment, there was a fellow named Bob Ewan from Selma, Alabama, and he'd been a tree expert for over 40 years. And when I went down to meet him, he was talking to me about how this grouping of products work and how important it is. And he said, Stan, he leaned over to me and he was in his in a wheelchair. I had to help him in my truck. It was pretty interesting, but he leaned over and he said, Stan, he said, I can't tell you, once again, he's from Selma, Alabama, he goes, I can't tell you how many PhDs I sent packing. But he said, the proof's in the pudding. And he said, my trees are beautiful, they look great, and I see it here. I see it where we use our products on them, and you know, sometimes they're beyond, you know, saving, and we'll have to take them down or, you know, trim them back real heavily and stuff. But usually at that point we'd take one down. But the products work, and they work well, and they work in a symbiotic relationship with the soil and the environment. And our products are harmless to pets, harmless to animals. Well, it'd be a pet, but harmless to children, and they just work very well.
Well, that's important because there's so much like we talked about in the first show. If you missed that one, check it out. But yeah, we kind of have this revelation, and we understand chemicals and the periodic table of
minerals,
elements, yeah. Right? And so we start crashing in. Oh, put more of this in there, and add some more of that, and this, and whatever. I mean, you can go zinc, iron. I mean, you go down the list of, and radiation. I mean, what are we getting into now? Hold on. You're saying by now they've kind of proved there's some ways you can politely treat these more passively than just pouring chemicals on stuff.
Correct.
To try to control stuff, and then that causes. We're learning now some of the damage it's caused.
Right. And we use what we consider to be a careful balance of products, and these products have been proven over time, over a number of years. And in fact, there's the largest peach grower in the Midwest, Billy Bader in Campbell, Missouri, utilizes our products, or the same grouping of products that we do, and he said it saved his orchards from going under in the past, and he's been doing this for, well, he has 1,100 acres of peaches, so.
Wow. I was going to say you saved the business there. I mean, how many? Yeah. 1,100 acres.
1,100 acres of peaches. They were oversprayed with in fact, he won a large lawsuit due to this, but his orchards were oversprayed with a herbicide called dicambra, and it was killing his trees. And the gentleman that introduced this to me sent one of his workers down to Billy's farm, and they started they would treat 2 rows of peach trees and skip 2 rows, and it kept doing that. And I was on Billy's farm and asked him, I said, and once again, he's using the same grouping of products that we use. And I asked him, I said, well, Billy, how long did it take you to see a difference? I thought he was going to say, 7 to 10 days, something like that. He said, Stan, I saw a difference in 2 days. And I said, wow, that's unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm curious now, what was it who decided to put those harmful chemicals out there? And what was going on?
Well, local farmers.
They just didn't know any
Local
better.
farmers.
So, put this on.
That particular product had evidently, I've been told, it had a tendency to drift in the air or in the wind, and the farmers put it on their crops, and it drifted into Billy's orchards and almost put him out of business. In fact, he told me, he said, if it weren't for this treatment protocol, and the minerals were a key component, but he said, if it weren't for that, he said, I would have been bankrupt.
Wow. Yeah,
He said, but I had a crop.
It is a fragile little planet we live on here. If you're not paying attention to what it is, it makes the world go around, and makes a lot. So residential and commercial, I guess that was a great example of a commercial instance where this is a business. Would you say 1,100 or 1,400?
Billy had 1,100 acres.
1,100 acres that you literally went in and saved it.
Yeah.
So lots of commercial work, and then residential. Would you give a breakdown how much of each you do? I mean, whoever needs you.
Oh, it's probably 90% residential,
okay.
and only 10% commercial. But we've got some trials going on some grapes in Augusta, Missouri, for a grape grower down there.
Augusta, Missouri, everybody, the second best wine part of the country. Some people say up second to Napa Valley, which and some people maybe where they're better out Augusta too. About 20 minutes from where we're at right now. Check that out. Well, we'll talk a little bit about this, but tell me the time you felt like you really helped a client, and maybe you're talking about maybe we just answered that question, but give me a residential instance where you literally you knew somebody was struggling, they got bad information or a bad decision, and you came in and said, we can take care of that and help them.
Well, that happens actually quite a lot because I'll go to a customer's home, and I can tell by looking at a tree if it's at a point where we can still save it or turn it around. And so many of these people are being told, oh, cut that oak tree down, cut that ash tree down, blah, blah, blah. And it's not necessary. And I just say, hey, let's give it a try. And once again, if it doesn't work, then we have to remove that tree. We'll credit what you spent towards the treatment on the removal.
Right. So you can really take care of it from top to bottom.
Correct.
And take care of that. I'd like to talk a little bit about how has technology affected your business. And I'll throw a little caveat on there. If you're learning about this whole social media world and the interwebs, you might want to pick up this book, everyone. It's called Magnetize Media. Yours truly wrote the foreword here. It's the #1 seller for its category, which is a pretty cool category, small businesses, etc. And magnetize your media. But technology has really changed the way the world is. And so they said, Cardi, you essentially wrote the first chapter for us because it was supposed to be 500 to 800 words. I gave him 1,800. But learn about that, and you get a copy of this out there. Just go to Amazon, Magnetize Media book. You'll find it.
I need to read that.
But I just share some of the secrets out there. I do the introduction, and then these guys go through in-depth, step-by-step what you should do. So it's become an important. But how has media and the technology, and we can talk about that from a couple different perspectives, because you're really talking about different chemicals, different treatments. That is advances. Those are advances in technology. And how has the technology evolved now from a more natural standpoint, or do you want to talk about now we're all more easily communicating with what is going wrong in our plant and animal plant world?
Well, in some instances that's true, and in some it's not, because what we're using has been around for a long time, but it's just been forgotten. It's been shoved to the side because everybody's pushing the chemicals. Everybody's pushing different. Like I say, different harsher chemicals and things of that nature to try to reach an objective. When in dealing with trees and plants, a lot of your answers and the objectives that you're trying to achieve would be are available through the utilization of these products that we employ. And but in terms of social media and things of that nature, we're going to start using drones for tree fertilization, and especially in the spring when we spray for sweet gum gumball prevention. We're going to use drones for that, and it's going to be quicker and more effective, and completely more efficient than using a high lift and spray rigs and stuff like that.
You're talking about some high-tech technology there. Drones, man. They talked about making swarms of drones that can do things now and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
With that, everybody, we'll show you a little bit of our workout in the community. Take a quick look here. Hey, everybody. We've got some baseball players in the building here. Who's your guys? All right, first of all, let's talk about who's your guys' favorite player? Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper. Tyler. Glasnow. Mason Wynn. Fernando Tatis Jr. Aaron Judge. Who'd you get? Bryce. All right, so we got a Cardinal fan in there. You guys are from the Misfits, right? You guys are from down close to Paducah, Kentucky, right? How long a drive was it to get up here? Only a couple. It wasn't that long. Hey, like I said, when you get older, you start playing big league ball and traveling on and stuff. It's gonna be a lot longer drives. You'll be okay for that? We're gonna pay you well. Okay? You ready? All right. So, why did you guys decide to come up here to see the Cardinals? Come on up here. Let's hear what they say. Why did you decide you want to come see the Cardinals? What's your name first?
Hunter.
Hunter. Why did you decide to come see the Cardinals?
Because we're playing a tournament here.
Because you're playing a tournament here. What about you?
They decided to.
They decided to. Why did you decide to come up here? Are you one of the players?
They decided to. He's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy? Okay.
He's a bad boy.
All right, now we got something else going on kind of exciting here. We're going to work on this a little bit. Who's going to throw out the first pitch today? What's your first name?
Wyatt.
Wyatt? All right, Wyatt. Now let's practice this a little bit. Are you righty or lefty? All right, so give me your form. Are you going to do wind up or are you going to do the stretch? All right, so just show me how to do this. How are you going to do it? Right, all right, move over for me right there. You got to hold it. Don't let that trophy. I know it looks heavier on TV. I know. All right, you go like this, right? That's the rubber right there. Let's say, all right. We'll step up here, show me how you're going to do it. All right, pretty good. Now, if I was going to be out there, maybe someday, here, I'd do a little bit more like this. Ready? It's called the Al Roboski Cardinal Cowboy. Here we go. You gotta get, hold on. That's how you gotta, think you can do that? All right, let's go Cardinals on 3. You guys ready? You got it? You're all watching the Cardinals game. Come over, hold the trophy. You got it? All right, here. 1, 2. Hold that up, because I'm gonna let you, if you guys say, let's go Cardinals, then you guys get a picture of the trophy. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Cardinals! Giddy up, touch the knuckles for good luck. Here we go. Come on.
Come on, guys.
All right, guys. There we go.
Knuckles.
We're gonna get you guys all pumped up before the game's over. I promise. To section 237. All right. Well, so there you go. There's some of the fun kids that are, that's our future we're talking about there. Those are
Absolutely.
They go by the Misfits. It's kind of an interesting name for a team. But how often do we feel like we don't fit in somewhere? But you just got to keep on plugging and make it happen on our little planet. We've talked about that. And help the plants that need the necessary support to do that as well, because these plants are a lot more vital piece of our ecosystem than many people may realize. Is that fair to say, Stan?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they help maintain the soil and hold the soil in place and provide a shade and, fruit and nuts and, vegetables, things of that nature. So
like the things that we eat. How about that, everybody? Right? How many people eat fiber, fruits? I mean, you got fruits and plants, and you got meat, right? And essentially, those are your 2 major categories. Right. What else is there? This could be for some people that I know they're vegetarians. This is all they eat is plants. Right. And even if you got your hamburger that's made out of plants, I guess, right? But an important part. Let's talk about it then. I can only imagine. I can only imagine by now somebody's going, how do I get a hold of this guy? What are the necessary steps so that I can have my friend Stan come out and take a look here to fix the problem? Just about everybody's got some plant, some tree, something on their property somewhere that they haven't addressed the issue with. What's the process here? How does somebody decide if they want to hire you?
Well, they can email me at stan.rootsplus stan.rootsplus@gmail.com.
Okay, write that one down.
stan.rootsplus@gmail.com, or they can call or text me at 314-440-3662. That's 314-440-3662.
And there it is. You can see those titles we put up there. And that is the phone number. So that is a textable phone number that everybody
Correct.
can send you a text and it'll go
Correct.
right to
It's a cell
Stan's
phone.
cell phone. He can answer that question. That's why we like working with small business owners like yourself, because when I have a question, I have a problem, who am I talking to? The owner.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's important. That's where I think we have a leg up. The owners and the small businesses do a better job than just about anybody, because you are dealing with the owner, or you're dealing with somebody that the owner directly trained. In this case, Stan knows what he's talking about, obviously. I'm going to share a little bit about your guys' website here. Take a look on the TV walls behind us. Stan's got a very informative Facebook page over there started and getting that going. But on his website, one of the best looking websites you'll find out there, everybody. And I've got that on the wall behind us, but I'm going to put up on the screen for everybody to take a look at. But as we go browse through the website here a little bit, tell me some of the key areas that you would definitely want somebody to take note, because I was poking around here when we were on a break there, but literally all the service: commercial tree, residential, trimming, takedown, disease, maintenance, crane and bucket truck, and emergency tree service. That sounds like there's a lot you're covering there, a lot of information here on the website, how people get a hold. You can fill out that form too, I guess, too, and get an estimate. But of all those services, is there any one of those that you operate more often than the other? Sounds like you do have that approach. We were talking about offset between interviews. A lot of people, it seems the traditional method is like, just take it down. You're saying you can save these trees more often than people realize.
Right. And I generally ask somebody what their objective is. Do you want to save this tree? Is this a tree you'd like to keep? And if they say yes, it is, and we put together a plan to help turn that tree, its health around, and save that tree and keep it viable and thriving in their yard or on their property. But for instance, today, before I came to the show, I went and looked at 3 different jobs, and each one of them were interested in the fertilization, but they wanted the trees trimmed or deadwooded, and we can help them with all of that.
Well, there you go, everybody. So pay attention to your trees and plants around you, because they do have an impact on our health, our survival. They're critical, actually, and some people understand that, but I guess there's some people, they could care less.
Right.
And
right.
just those people. Hey, warn those people also, by the way. Hey, stop it. You're messing us up for everybody, not just you, right?
That's true.
And that's something we all want to have, something we pay attention to. All right. So if there was ever one challenge you think that you've dealt with, or maybe a challenge you've helped a client go through, I can only imagine. I mean, gosh, you talked about that 1,100 peach trees. How often do you deal with
1,100
these?
acres.
Give me a couple
yeah.
other, and that was a crazy example. What other examples do you have of times where you came in, they thought there was no hope, and you were able to come in and help?
Well, one of the biggest problems that we face is when we start talking to people about beneficial bacteria, and which is what our product is that we use, is called Biosynergy, provided by a company called Black Coral Minerals. But anyway, people don't understand the effects that biologicals or bacteria, beneficial bacteria, have in the soil and on the foliage of a plant, and things of that nature. But you know, it's an educational process that we have to kind of go through to explain why what we do is so effective. But it's like a doctor. If you go to the doctor, he gives you some antibiotics, and he's going to prescribe you a probiotic. It's not just one pill. It's a series or a grouping of pills that you have to take on a routine basis. Well, the soil is like the stomach to a plant, okay? And that's what we're doing. We're using a supercharged probiotic in the soil to reinvigorate the soil and make those nutrients that are tied up available.
I'd never heard that before. The stomach for plants is essentially the ground.
It is.
The soil.
It is.
And wow, how important that is, because we all just dump our water or dump our beer or dump or whatever is in the, and is that
We don't
it's
think
gotta go
about
through
it.
the filtration system there, and I guess it cleans itself out. God,
Yeah.
nature. But
Yeah.
how many times are we putting chemicals and things on there that are not good?
Right.
And they're getting
Right.
just soaked up. That's
That's
what
true.
the plants have to absorb to live. All right, we're going to take another quick break here, share with you a little word from our sponsor, and enjoy a little bit of information here shared by My Metal Pro. Hey everybody, Cardinal Cowboy here. I want to invite all of you to be part of my new team. No, you don't have to put on a baseball uniform and be a super fan. Now, it would be a good idea to cheer for the Cardinals, the greatest team in the history of the National League. But I'm talking about the Gold Cowboy team. You know I love to help people follow their dreams and reach their goals in business and in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you about my friends at My Metal Pro. They help people like you and I acquire gold and silver with a membership that lets you safely buy, sell, and store gold and silver. They make it real easy to get started. My Metal Pro isn't like the big guys you see on network TV or the big coin shops that take a huge commission. So become part of my Gold Cowboy team. Scan the QR code or go to goldcowboy.com and check it out. Giddy up! Well, there you go. I hope that was a little bit of information for you there. But here I hold in my hand some of these coins. Here's the JFK coin. This is a coin that they've made. I had a tree guy sitting here not long ago, and he's a good guy, and he said, you know that coin on its own, the silver on it is probably worth $30 to $50. And then what is a coin of that kind of novelty? That's the JFK coin. These guys do a great job. And if you're looking to get into coins, and if you understand, and you can just buy straight up gold. I'm buying straight up gold from them, and I can do it in a fractional manner, which most people, there's nobody else who does that. So that you're not paying 10 or 20 or 30% more. So if you'd like more information there, check it out. Go to Gold Cowboy, goldcowboy.com. I'll put that up for everybody to see. But there's where you can get some more information there, and you saw that clip. So with that, let's get back in here and talk a little bit more about what we're doing in the community, because, wow, trees are a critical piece. And I guess a lot of people, they may think they know a little bit about trees, but there's a lot more to be known. And as we finish up here, we've got about 7 minutes left. Many times I try to figure out what it is that kind of, how does somebody's brain work? And we're usually talking to very successful business owners, so that positive vibes got to come through there. So I asked him, what is the favorite quote that you had that has kind of helped you make it through and has meant a lot to you?
Well, I'll never forget this. One of my mentors in this business, I heard him on a radio interview, and he said to the host, he uttered that statement that the soil is like the stomach to a plant, and the host said, well, he hadn't ever considered that, but Ron said, look around you. Almost everything you see is either directly or indirectly related to the soil, and that's true. And that's what we try to do. We try to build the soil up so we increase, plant health, root health, and achieve our objectives.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's such a critical thing. We've talked about that, but pay attention, take care of your trees and your plants around your house and around the community, because it does have an impact on our planet, whether you realize that or understand that or not.
True.
What is it that you would say, what's a big objection? What is one of the biggest questions? Is it always about price? I think and imagine, when it comes down to, so many people are worried about the bottom line with regard to price, but they don't understand the other implications, but why there are certain things that cost certain amounts.
Right.
Oh, cut that, I don't need that. Well, you just cost yourself a lot more money trying to cut corners. Not a good idea. What are some examples of that?
Well, if I can, for instance, if I try to point out to people that it's with our guarantee, it's almost a no-brainer, because if they want to keep that tree or that bush or maintain that lawn, it's, especially in dealing with the tree, this is true. But if they want to save that tree, we can fertilize it or treat that tree for about 25% or a quarter on the dollar of what it would cost to cut that tree down and remove that tree. And they get to keep the tree.
How about that, everybody? You save the tree as well. Very cool. What is it that really gives you the most satisfaction about ultimately? When you wake up every morning, you go, today I get to conquer the world again with what the platform where you develop here about how to help plants. What do you enjoy most about what you do?
Well, I know that we're going out and we're selling a positive, truthful service that can benefit people. It benefits the environment, and we do so at a reasonable cost. So everybody wins in this situation. Everybody wins in this scenario.
That's important. They talk about, there's a book out there by Stephen Covey, I believe it is, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Look that one up. I'm just throwing it out there. It's got to be a win-win-win.
Correct.
For everyone involved, right? And so if not everybody wins, then somebody's going to be upset, and then everybody ultimately loses, especially if that kind of continues. And that's not the way to be successful on this little planet. So that's pretty cool. Well, when it comes down to it, what do you feel like you do to most contribute to the community? And is there any particular organizations you kind of profess that you believe in that are positive within this realm that do a good job in helping make our planet a little bit better place?
Well, I tell you what, anytime I do any work for a church, I'll donate 10 to 20% back to that church. I'll give them an invoice, they pay me, and I'll send them 10 or 20% back. And sometimes I do things for them pro bono, and I don't charge them. We just did we ground a stump for a church in Chesterfield that had let me use their lot to park some of my equipment on, and so they needed a stump ground, and we ground it out. I didn't charge them anything. That would normally have been like a $400 process, but we just did it for them as a return of a favor. And there's just a ton of good organizations in the area, and we could do a whole show on that.
Well, again, giving back, and I say that comes back around. That's why we work with a lot of charities, over 300 or so charities in the lifetime of this whole thing. Because there's so many great organizations doing good stuff out there.
Right.
I want to jump back because I was looking at your website because we mentioned this in a previous, it was earlier this show or last show, 2.5 hours, everybody. That was Stan is sharing his knowledge with us. Professional tree care and roots plus fertilization. What I was getting to, custom fertilizers. How important is, we talk about maintenance, we talk about how we prune and treat and cut back, or even if we have to take down a tree. We hate to imagine that, but it happens. Don't get your feelings hurt, everybody, I guess, but this is still part of our little planet. But bottom line is, to get these things to really grow, the fertilization is really important. Can you give me a little more of the feedback about why that is, and some of the mistakes have been done in the past, and the way you have figured out how to make it a better process now?
Well, like our liquid fertilizers that we use, they're all considered to be food-grade fertilizers, and we use all liquids. We don't use any although on the website they're showing some dry fertilizers being put down, but we don't use actually any dry fertilizers because dry fertilizers they contain a lot of waste and byproducts and fillers and stuff like that you don't need, and sometimes they're things that you don't want in your soil. But we use the highest grade of products that we possibly can to achieve our results.
Well, I tell you, when it comes down to it, it's great to just have some experts that do a great job to address the things that some people may overlook in our plants and our animals. But in this case, we're talking about plants. They're such a vital piece. Recent guest we had on with regard to sod, but they talked about how it is so important because sod, grass, greens, they are the mechanism by which our oxygen is created.
Right.
And if we're not going to keep that in order, we're going to have a tough time on this planet. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Hope you're enjoying this version of the Your Little Castle show. We'll be back for more. Stan really making a difference here on our little planet and helping everyone in his path get that greenery stuff taken care of, and call our friend Stan here next time you have a question about the outside plants you've got in your vicinity. Giddy up.